Good morning, everyone. This is week 10, and we are performing occipital setups this week. This video, we are just going to show you the two seated occiput setups. So we obviously will have the patient in the seated position. We'll get started. So let me walk around here and we'll get cranking. Patient is seated. We are going to perform an occiput lift. So a seated occiput lift is our first setup. Now, these are going to be for lateral flexion restrictions. That being said, let's get started. Now, I'm going to need to support the patient from behind. I'm going to step forward with one of my legs that will correspond to the side that I'm contacting. So, if I have a left lateral flexion restriction, I'm going to step forward with my left leg right in the center of the patient. And I'm going to have the patient lean back against me. Now I've got my legs staggered so that I can accept the weight of the patient, okay, and be able to be comfortable and stable. Now, from here, I know that I'm going to adjust for a left lateral flexion restriction. I'll have the patient turn their head to the right, okay, and I just adjust a little bit to make sure that we're in neutral position as best we can be. Now I want to make my contact. I'm using the hypothenar eminence to contact the mastoid on the patient's left side. So I'm using my left hand on the left mastoid. So I'm going to slide up P to A, I to S, onto that mastoid. I'm going to cup the ear. Don't poke the patient in the eye. Okay. From here, I need to stabilize. I'm going to reach around and back up my contact. It's okay if your forearm is touching the jaw line, just don't pull on the patient's jaw, okay? Now from here we need to bring the patient to pretension, and to do that it's a little bit complicated as far as the coordination of motion. I'm going to scoop with my hands and I'm going to bring my shoulders back and chest out, and it's all going to happen at the same time. So here's what we're going to do. Okay? Now what I see most people do is you'll get into this position and you'll lift up. And that's not the direction that you want to go when you're bringing the patient to pretension. You're going to bring your shoulders back, chest out, okay? And scoop. Don't forget that. Here, okay? Now, we just did a left lateral flexion restriction. My line of correction for all of these is going to be lateral to medial and I to S. It is a lift, after all. And that's our seated occiput lift. Left or right lateral flexion restrictions. Okay. Now, in the same seated position, we also have what I call a pull move, an occiput pull, and this is going to look very similar to something you've done in Gonstead class. Now here, again, I'm staggered, but I'm centered behind the patient. My legs are staggered to accept the patient's weight just so that everybody's stable. Have the patient lean back. They're going to look straight ahead, nose horizontal to the horizon here. And we're going to contact. What you see in Gonstead class is a contact that looks something like this at the glabella. We are adjusting for an AS occiput with this particular move. Diversified looks just a little bit different. Now we will have a blocker behind the neck here, and we will make our contact bilaterally. We're going to be over the supraorbital ridges here, so one side and the other. So all we've done is separate our hands a little bit. We're over the supraorbital ridges, not the glabella. And then of course the move is the same. I'm going to pull down and in, kind of a scooping motion to adjust for an AS occiput. And folks, those are the two setups that we have in the seated position. Thank you.